Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the last movie in our Japanese Ghost Week, which has been an absolute wonderful week, and we're ending on this film called The Bride of Hades, which is another sort of feudal Japan sort of samurai time sort of story. And this one is based, it's another sort of love story, and it's based on a young sort of man that's sort of being disowned by his sort of samurai family because he's got a different way of living. He doesn't want to live the samurai way, and they also want him to marry the a daughter of another family, just so they can become richer and the two families can entwine. But he doesn't want this. He wants to live humbly in the village and teach the local children to read and write. He wants to be a teacher. So he has these strong sort of like good sort of ways about him, that he's more stronger to him than his family. So he sort of gets shunned, and he goes and lives with his in the village and becomes like a teacher. And sure enough, he teaches all the kids all these wonderful sort of like how to read and write, and that all the families like him, and he's an absolute sort of like legend in the town. He's got a friend there who's the sort of comic sort of humor in the film, called Banzo, I believe his name is, and he's sort of like the town sort of nosy Parker, but he's really good in the sense that he does help him out a lot. And there's one part of the film where the teacher takes all the kids and the families, and they all go with these sort of lanterns in this sort of spiritual time in August, where they believe unwanted spirits come back because they've got nowhere to go, and then they stay for a few days, and they sort of like have this festival where they put these light lanterns on the river, and the spirits return back to their sort of their other world, if you like. Anyway, so we join them on this evening when they're doing all this, and they're singing and on their way to like the local sort of lake with all these sort of lanterns, and all the children there, and they all put these lanterns on the water. It's a wonderful sort of sight. It's really well filmed, very beautifully filmed. The cinematography in here is like a piece of art, and this is like a 4K restoration, and it looks amazing. So they put all these on, and one of the little lad's lamps gets stuck in the long sort of grass. So our hero, he sort of helps out and sort of helps it go into the water. And then all the kids sort of go to the other side of the lake, still singing, and he's there and he sees a couple more lanterns sort of caught in the sort of long grass, and he helps them out so they can go to the water. And then suddenly two women appear, and these are our ghosts. But he doesn't know this at the moment. And they thank him because they said they were their lanterns. And there's like an oldest sort of woman with a young, beautiful woman. And of course, he's going to fall for the beautiful woman, isn't he? Anyway, so he said, no, don't think nothing of it. And he returns to the children, and they all go back to the village, and they've all had a wonderful time. So at the moment, we don't know these are ghosts. We just find out as the film comes along. And they knock at his door because they want to thank him some more about the lanterns. So they said, concede that they were kind. And the older one starts to explain the story of the younger woman, of how she was belonged to like this samurai family, but she was sort of shunned upon and sort of thrown out by them, and she's got like nowhere to go sort of thing. And then she started to do some sort of work in the local town, and an elderly man sort of wanted to marry her, and obviously she doesn't want nothing to do with an old man, so they've sort of scarpered, if you like, away. And then they've come across him, and she wants our hero to to wed his this lady. She calls my lady. So but he's quite dubious. He doesn't understand because they've only just met them, but he has already sort of fallen for her sort of beauty. Anyway, they leave his house that night, and outside is our Nosy Parker, his friend Bonza, and he's Banzo, and he hears them, and looks, and he recognises them as being like a sort of waitress and a prostitute. And so he goes and talks to one of the elders in the village about what he saw. And they said, well, you couldn't have, because those two are dead. He said, they died ages ago, long time ago, because there must have been ghosts that you saw, because they've been dead a long time. And then he's then petrified because he's seen them in the flesh and they're ghosts. And they come back and visit our hero every night, these two ghosts, and they start, he starts falling for the young one, and they sort of start kissing and canoodling on the bed and start to make love, sort of thing. And our Bonzo's looking through a gap in the window, and he sees, but when he sees her, she's like this old, wrinkled, and sort of like deformed sort of look to the woman, but obviously that's what he sees. And he runs away scared and talks to the elder again. And then the next day, the elder and Bonzo go to him and explain that these are ghosts. They're not real. And he doesn't believe them at all. He says that he told them what they are, and he finds out where these bodies are buried of this waitress and this prostitute. And he goes and visits the graves, and they've been dug up. And there was one part where the young girl gave him a gift of a mirror, and the gravedigger says, oh, there was a mirror in there as well, but that's gone. So now he's proven that these are ghosts, and he's discovered that they are ghosts. So they come to visit him, and he sort of like calls them out on it, and they admit that they're ghosts. So he tries to kill them with a samurai sword, but his attacks just go straight through them because they're ghosts. And some of the effects of the ghosts are absolutely wonderful. And it's just like they've done such a good job of making these look like sort of ghosts sort of floating around. I'm thinking, wow, how'd they do that for such an old film? Anyway, he and then his friend Bonzo comes into the room and tries to stop him, and he nearly attacks Bonzo because he thinks he's one of those ghosts sort of thing. But anyway, then the night ends, and he's kind of sort of a little bit forgotten what's gone on, and then they come back and explain what's happened. So they decide to speak to the high priest of the village to sort of like stop these ghosts visiting, because there's only 2 days left of this ceremony, and then the spirits have to return to where they came from. So if they can just stop him from seeing her for 2 nights, because if they do keep seeing each other, then he's going to die and become a part of her world. So because they begged and begged and begged him to not, to still see her, the two ghosts, because, do you really want her to be on her own? They've fallen in love by now, and he wants to be with her, but they obviously want him to stay because of what he does for the children of the village. So they make him promises to lock him in his house, and they put up these sort of prayer scrolls on the windows and doors so they can't enter. And at this point, Banzo's wife returns from wherever she's been, and she's quite wants to make a profit off his ghost. Said, well, look, we'll break these sort of scrolls if they give us money. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because the film sort of plays out with an amazing sort of end, and a very tragic sort of end. But it's absolutely fantastic, absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful film. I had such a good time watching it. I'm going to score The Bride of Hades an essential watch and give it a 10 out of 10. So that's 2 Ghost Stories this week I've given 10 out of 10. The pluses of this edition is it's a 4K restoration by Radius, and it looks absolutely amazing. It's stunning. It's so well acted. The effects are absolutely phenomenal for this, and it's a very eerie and quite spooky in places, especially at night time when there's a lot of fog around the area and there's a lot of mist, and these ghosts sort of seem to be floating and making their way towards the screen. It's like, it is quite spooky, and you can imagine that people would have been really scared by this at the time, because like, how do they do this? But it's absolutely amazing. It's a wonderful film. I absolutely loved every minute of it. Bride of Hades, 10 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? Again, I don't know if you have. I don't know if you've seen any of these films, because they're quite, although in Japan they're probably quite popular, and you know, they're probably like our sort of Hammer films here, you know, but they were fantastic and they were absolutely mind-blowing. I've had a fantastic week watching these films and reviewing them. And if you're interested in getting them, they are available in a box set called, what is it called? Day Gothic, available from Radius, which is this box set here with all 3 movies in it. And it's not that cheap, but it's worth buying if you can invest into it, because these don't stick around for very much. So again, we've got the Ghost of Yotsuya, which is the first one we reviewed. Obviously, the amazing Snow Woman, and tonight's film, The Bride of Hades. So you get the 3 films in there, and it comes with a booklet with sort of like interviews and essays and stuff about all the sort of films. Absolutely wonderful. A great little book, and it comes in this hard box. Fantastic. Yeah, I would have liked it to have been a bit more beefed out with maybe some posters and stuff like that, or art cards, but it's not. This isn't Second Sight, it's Radius. So yeah, that's a fantastic set if you want to try and pick that up. It's definitely worth it. If not, go and check out some. I might do some more Japanese films. Yeah, I'm thinking of getting some more Japanese ghost films, because I really love these. I enjoy these more than the J-horror films. Maybe because they're older and they're set in like ancient sort of Japan. It's got that sort of innocence about it, and that draws me in, and it makes it feel very charming and wonderful stories, yet very eerie and spooky. Really worth checking out. But check out some other horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man Film, Morris Design, Pizzawell. I'm Still Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrews, Haunted House. And a massive shout out to my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.